And we're back on TSPN. This is Supervisor Richard Forster with your supervisor report from our bi-monthly meeting of August 25th, 2015. Starting off the meeting today, Supervisor and Chairman of the Board, Meadow, gave a report on the recent RCRC meeting, or the Rural County Representatives of California. It used to be the Regional Council of Rural Counties, but that changed a while back. So anyway, he gave a report on current legislation, on activities RCRC is involved in lobbying, advocating, trying to get more of our harvesting done in the forests, and especially of the dead and dying timber that's out there, and there is a lot of it. I just saw some figures from Jim McCargy, our previous guest, on forests and the amount of trees that really need to be harvested in the forest, and it is astronomical. The U.S. Forest Service will never get to it, especially with the policies they have today, but you can hear more about that by going online and listening to Supervisor Onetto. But starting off our meeting today, we had Laura Einstetter in, our county librarian, and Rick Sprinkle, the president of the Friends of the Amador County Library. These two have collaborated to come up with Library Card Sign-Up Month. And good reasons for that. I know when I was a kid, I had a library card, and you kind of cherish that when you're a kid walking around. But you know what? It helps to expand your knowledge, and that's what they're after, is calling it the most important item that a school supply that a child can have, or that anyone can have, really. The libraries play an important role in education and development, in digital and print resources that they provide to students, and in technology and innovative educational programming, as well as, they say, libraries continue to transform and expand their services and the ways to meet those services. They have to with the ever-changing technology, social media, and everything else, but they also have to control some of that so that people can't access areas where you might not want them to access in a public library. Last thing they say is library card is the coolest card that you can own. So I would tend to agree with that. I had one, and I thought so. How about you, Michael? You have one too? Yeah. Yep, everybody had a library card. Yep, everybody had it, everybody likes it. So get your library card, but the board did vote to approve the resolution proclaiming September 2015 as Library Card Sign-Up Month. Next up, we had fee waiver request. This was brought in by Jenny Tremaine. As many people know, Jenny's husband, Frank Tremaine, was a captain on the Jackson Fire Department, passed away in January of this year very unexpectedly. Frank was a mainstay in their family for helping with their son, Kyle, who was severely mentally and physically disabled. I would not want to be in this situation. He is what I would call very high maintenance. They are doing what they feel is the best thing and not choosing to put him in a care facility where he would not be cared for in the manner that they are caring for him as a family member. That's the way they feel. The group care homes do a good job, but Kyle, as Jenny says, gets up 3 to 6 times every night and must be cared for. He cannot get back in bed by himself. So what they were asking for was the waiver of fees. They're going to split their home, basically, make it into, as our county council said, more like a duplex. Although it appears they would have a common kitchen, but they would separate the living spaces almost duplex style, with one family living, with Jenny living on one side with Kyle. The other side would be Jenny's daughter and son-in-law, who are going to help care for Kyle. But in a situation like this, she does need some help. The board debated this. I'm not a big advocate of waiver of fees, because my feeling is if you do it for one, sometimes you should really do it for all. This is somewhat of a very special case that has come before us. The building permit fees in the counties are $650. Facility fees are about almost $3,500. The recreation agency fee is $4,300 that the county has adopted. Traffic impact fees are almost $6,400. Then there's the Amador Fire Protection District fee of $250, an additional $1,500 to join the Community Facilities District there, plus $541 per month. And then our planning department use fee is $66. What the board did under the motion of Supervisor Plaz is vote to waive the ACRA fee of $4,300 and the traffic impact fee of $6,380. The rest of those fees, they're pretty much hard cost. The Amador Fire Protection District fee, she will have to go to that board and ask for consideration. You know, sometimes you got to look at things and try to figure out what is the right thing, most compassionate thing to do. This was a true case of hardship. Upcountry Community Council came in and talked about the issue with the ongoing issue with the Dollar General that's going in on Meadow Vista Drive and Pioneer. Richard Lockwood or Dick Lockwood, their person who's in charge of their traffic safety committee, gave a lot of points as to why we should ask Caltrans for consideration on this issue. The main thing they want done is to reduce the speed limit in that area from Wagon Wheel Drive to Buckhorn Ridge Road from 45 miles an hour to 35 miles an hour. The reason for this is they say there's just not enough time. If you're pulling out from Meadow Vista, you have about 7.5 seconds to get across the road into the other lane. They do not feel there's enough time with people and traffic going 45 miles an hour. Eventually, they say there will be an accident there. They're probably right, especially if you increase the trips going into Meadow Vista off 88 by over 1,000 trips a day, which is the estimate is a little higher than that for the numbers that would go into Dollar General. The other things they're asking for are separate two-way turn lanes. I'm not sure Caltrans will do that, but we can ask for it and have it considered in a traffic safety investigation study. The crosswalk in that area, they say, needs to be put in right at Meadow Vista so that people can cross the road over to Payless parking lot to get to the bus stop. I like crosswalks, but I think when you go through a crosswalk, you need to watch because people don't always respect those crosswalks. So even if there's a flashing yellow light there, may not be the best thing. But the Board of Supervisors did vote to ask for a traffic safety investigation. By the way, anyone can ask for that traffic safety investigation. That was brought forward by our Community Development Director, Aaron Bruce-Torrey. We looked at mitigation fees and an update of the master plan for the Amador County Recreation Agency. Carolyn Frigulia presented this item. What this turned into was more of a investigation or more of a review of how the request for proposal was put together here. Supervisors Plaz and Oneto had issues with the language that was used in the RFP and the expanse or the different areas that would be looked into. So, you know, what I said to them, and I think is right, in our first master plan that we did for ACRA in 2006, really it's up to the board at that point. When you do an RFP, it comes back to the board. The board can say either on items we're going too far, we're going out of the scope of ACRA, we can't afford to do all of these items. That's where you narrow your scope of items that will be included in the total master plan. But this master plan needs to be redone at this time because population numbers have changed for the county. Probably not as aggressive as the last master plan thought it was going to be. Actually, in 2010, our census numbers went down. So then we had other items are some of the park items have changed. Some parks have been completed. New parks have come on the line, new improvements, some improvements have been done. You need to take all those factors into consideration. So a needs assessment, master plan, and nexus study needs to be done. With that, Carolyn was asking for the board's pro rata share, the county pro rata share of 63% to come out of the mitigation fees that have been garnered through the recreation fees that are charged. The board looks like they'll agree to that, but before we do that, Supervisor Plaza and Oneto are going to convene to review the RFP, come back to the board at our first meeting in September, give us their point of view of what needs to be changed there. We will then forward it on to ACRA, and at their board meeting, they'll decide whether they can affect that or not. Last item up on the agenda was ACE's Waste Services, Prop 218 hearing, held this day as advertised about 45, I think it's 45 days ago, but Mr. McCarty could tell you better than that. Basically what we were looking at here is franchise area 1, 2, and 3, looking at a 3.95% increase. Interestingly, Mr. McCarty did an analysis of rates over the last about 9 years, and in that time there's been an average 2.94% increase per year. So sometimes the rates go up, sometimes the rates go down, sometimes they're higher, sometimes they're lower, but 2.94%, you know, nobody likes rates to go up, but we also realize that within that rate adjustment methodology, or the RAM technology that we put together, there are costs in there that change constantly. One of the commenters that requested that we not raise rates said, look, our Social Security is not going up. Why are all these other rates going up? And gas prices are going down. Why are we getting an increase here? Well, gas prices have been leveled off and gone down, but you still have other expenses with labor, with insurance, with stormwater protection, which is a new rule or regulation coming down from the state, with the Air Resources Board regulations that are coming down that require ACES to spend a lot of money on their equipment. So the rates do change based on the expenses that ACES shows, and those expenses are categorized along with their revenue to show that a rate increase is warranted. With that, that's all the time I have. You can go on our Wake County website or call 223-6470 for information related to this. And the Supervisor Richard Forster will talk to you in a couple weeks.